"Get that boy out of here," the millionaire's voice echoed across the grand hall, sharp enough to cut through the clinking glasses and polite laughter. Every head turned, every conversation froze, and right there, in the middle of it all, stood a thin boy in worn-out clothes, smiling. But before we begin, if stories that touch your heart and remind you what real strength looks like mean something to you, take a moment to like this video and subscribe to the channel, because this story might just stay with you longer than you expect. The boy's name was Ion. No one knew how he got into the mansion. The party was invitation only. Business tycoons, celebrities, people who wore confidence like expensive perfume. And then there was Ion, barefoot, holding a small, dusty backpack, standing beneath a chandelier worth more than his entire life. The millionaire who had shouted, "Mr. Rais," was known for two things: unmatched success and zero tolerance for anything that disrupted his world of perfection. His suit was flawless, his posture commanding, and his patience non-existent. "Security," he barked again. "Throw him out." Two guards approached, but Ion didn't move. He didn't beg, he didn't cry. Instead, he looked directly at Mr. Rais and said something so unexpected that even the guards paused. "I'm here to return something you lost." The room shifted. Curiosity replaced irritation, just for a moment. Mr. Rais scoffed. "I don't lose things, boy." Ion slowly opened his backpack and pulled out a small, old, rusted wristwatch. Silence. The watch wasn't valuable, not in money. But the moment Mr. Rais saw it, something in his expression cracked. Just slightly, just enough for someone observant to notice. "Where did you get that?" he asked, his voice lower now. Ion stepped forward. "From my father." The room leaned in. "My father found it years ago. He worked as a cleaner in your old factory. He always said it belonged to someone important, someone who forgot where they came from." A faint murmur spread across the guests. Mr. Rais's jaw tightened. "That's nonsense. My past is none of your concern." Ion shook his head. "It became my concern when my father died last year." The words hit harder than anyone expected. "He kept this watch safe," Ion continued, his voice steady but heavy. "He said one day, if I ever found the owner, I should give it back, and remind him of something." "And what exactly is that?" Mr. Rais asked, though his voice had lost its earlier arrogance. That once, he wasn't a millionaire. A silence deeper than before settled over the room. The kind of silence that makes people uncomfortable, not because it's loud, but because it's true. Ion's story began in a small, crumbling house on the edge of the city. His father, Karim, worked long hours cleaning floors, fixing broken machines, doing anything he could to survive. But every night, no matter how tired he was, he told Ion stories, not fairy tales, but real ones. Stories about a young man who used to work in that same factory. A man who was poor, hungry, determined, and kind. A man who once shared his only meal with a stranger. A man who promised he would never forget the people he left behind when he became successful. That man was Rais, but somewhere along the way, success had erased the promise. Years passed. The factory shut down. Workers were dismissed without compensation. Among them was Karim, who never complained, but slowly, silently, his health deteriorated. On his final day, he handed Ion the watch. "If you ever find him," Karim had whispered, "don't ask him for money. Don't ask for help, just give him this, and remind him who he used to be." Ion had traveled for days. Walking, hitching rides, sleeping, hungry, just to reach the gates of a world that didn't want him. And now he stood inside it. Back in the mansion, Mr. Rais stared at the watch in Ion's hand. His fingers trembled slightly as he reached out and took it. The room disappeared for him in that moment. Memories flooded back. The factory floor, the smell of oil and sweat, the laughter of workers during short breaks, the feeling of being seen, being human. And Karim. Yes, he remembered him now. The quiet man who always stayed late. The one who once fixed Rais's broken machine without being asked. The one who never expected anything in return. Mr. Rais started, but no words came out. Ion watched him carefully. "My father never blamed you," he said. "Even when we had nothing. Even when he was sick." He said, "Maybe he just forgot." The words hit harder than any accusation. Because they weren't angry. They were forgiving, and that made them unbearable. The guests shifted uncomfortably. Some looked away. Others watched, captivated. This wasn't entertainment anymore. This was something real. Mr. Rais sank slowly into a chair, still holding the watch. I built everything, he said quietly, almost to himself. I worked for it, I earned it. Ion nodded. You did, but I didn't do it alone, Rais whispered. For the first time that night, his voice carried something unfamiliar. Regret. The guards stepped back. No one dared interrupt. Ion took a deep breath. I didn't come here for money, he said. I just wanted you to remember. Because people like my father believed in you. That sentence broke something inside Rais completely. Because success built on forgotten kindness isn't success, it's emptiness dressed in gold. Minutes passed in silence before Rais finally stood up again. But he wasn't the same man who had shouted earlier. Cancel the party, he said. Gasps filled the room. Sir, one of his assistants asked, confused. I said cancel it, Rais repeated, firmer now. Send everyone home. And then, turning to Ion, he added, you're not going anywhere. The guests slowly began to leave, whispering among themselves. Something important had happened, but they couldn't quite explain it. When the hall finally emptied, it was just the two of them. Rais looked at Ion, really looked at him this time, not as an intruder, but as a mirror. I can't undo the past, he said. Ion nodded. I know, but I can change what happens next. The next few weeks changed everything. Rais reopened the old factory, not as it was, but better. Fair wages, healthcare, education programs for workers' children. He personally visited families who had been affected, offering not charity, but respect. And Ion, he didn't become rich overnight. He didn't move into the mansion. But he was given something far more valuable: education, mentorship, and a place where his voice mattered. Years later, people would talk about Rais's transformation as a miracle. But those who knew the truth would say it wasn't a miracle. It was a reminder delivered by a boy who had nothing, yet carried something powerful enough to change everything. And if this story moved you even a little, don't forget to like the video and subscribe, because sometimes, the smallest voices carry the biggest truths, and you never know which story might change the way you see the world next.